following Super Bowl Sunday, we will obviously cover that. That's obviously the big story of this week is the Seattle Seahawks, unbeknownst to everybody in the preseason, by the way, have won the Super Bowl, which is, I think, as crazy as you would have thought going into this year, right? With Sam Darnold in his first year as their quarterback after the one good year he's ever put together in his career when he was a Minnesota Viking. He now wins the Super Bowl with Seattle, taking down the Patriots with Drake May. We'll obviously discuss that to lead the show today. Another big story that's kind of emerged this week, Josh, is the element of tanking in the NBA.
Yeah.
We'll obviously discuss that. I kind of have an opinion on tanking, and again, it is controversial, but what about me is not. So we will discuss that a little bit later as well. Josh, listen, it's early, but I almost feel like James Harden is working in Cleveland. I do kind of, a week later, I do kind of think it. We will discuss that as well. But first, as we always do, we cover the big stuff first. So the Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. It was sort of a runaway-ish victory. Seattle with a 29-13 win. And we both, Josh, expected this to some degree. I think we both expected a bit of a higher scoring game when we predicted it. But the separation, I think we both kind of anticipated between these two teams. Seattle was just playing such good football at the right time. The Patriots, obviously, reaching the Super Bowl is an accomplishment in itself, but not playing as dominant a brand of football as we've come used to seeing in years past. A lot of people viewed them as fraudulent, right, because of the ease of their schedule. So here's the thing. One of the things that I found super interesting about how this whole thing was perceived, and this is always getting thrown out in the ether now, is how Sam Darnold is the first quarterback of his fully star-studded draft class to win a Super Bowl. Before Josh Allen, before Lamar Jackson, before Baker Mayfield. So that is something that I think deserves some discussion. So, Josh, let me throw this at you. Is it official now that Sam Darnold is better than both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield?
Oh, I mean, you put all of them together. You can sprinkle a little Aaron Rodgers on top of it. And, I mean, clearly, no, he is not better. He's not skillfully better. That said, he has shown possibly more resilience than them. Because when you become the first quarterback to win the Super Bowl after playing for 5 different teams, and in this situation, 5 teams in 8 years, that's the definition of resiliency, if you ask me, because we know there have been many NFL players, many players in all sports that, maybe after they got drafted, some hype, it didn't pan out, then they got traded or released and kind of became a journeyman and then eventually faded out because either A, nobody wanted them, or B, they just kind of gave up and were like, all right, I'm not going to achieve that. Darnold kept his poise, kept calm. It's just like, all right, this is the hand that's being dealt to me now, and I'm going to work with it. All right, I got drafted to the Jets. We know the history of how bad that went. Okay, well, now maybe something will happen in Carolina. Oh, now I got to back up Baker Mayfield for a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to San Francisco where I'm backing up the literal Mr. Irrelevant. And so many people would have given up at that point. It was like, no, I'm still going to work. I'm still going to train. I know my opportunity is going to come. Then he shows up in Minnesota, has the great year, goes down a little bit towards the end of the season, To which then Minnesota's like, oh, no, you had a good year, but you know what? We don't want to pay you. We're going to go with this rookie who never played. And Seattle's like, no, let's take a chance. And he just needed that right opportunity, and he got it in Seattle. I know I've said on this show, I truly still feel that he should have got some MVP votes, should have been a finalist. I'm not saying he would have won the award. I mean, especially if Justin Herbert got a first place vote, how does Sam Darnold not get anything? So the fact that he mustered up all this in this combination of a brilliant young coach, really one of the best defenses that we may have ever seen on a Super Bowl winning team. Because you look at his stats, Sam Darnold didn't wow you in the Super Bowl. And it took some time. And it took time to kind of gain some traction. But he kept the poise and the resiliency, and his defense kept him in it. And then, of course, Kenneth Walker decided to turn into Emmitt Smith for a night. And
yeah, they really leaned on Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
They really, really leaned on Kenneth Walker. 5 yards a carry for him. He was 27 carries for 135 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but by the way, I'm extremely disappointed in Jackson Smith and Jigba because I actually decided to throw money on a parlay, and part of that parlay,
the one time you make a bet,
was for him to score 2 touchdowns, and after the first half, he had 1 catch for 4 yards. And I'm like, okay,
hold on
now.
Hold on, no, time out a second. You, mister, for weeks on weeks on weeks saying, I don't bet. And then you decide to not just make a bet, but make an absurd bet on the one guy you know New England's very good defense is going to smother.
Listen, good players find a way to overcome. You know what I mean? It's not like I was going to vote. It's not like I was going to roll out Rashid Shaheed. You know what I mean? Like, take my chances with.
You should have. He got the same amount of yards.
He did. He did. Yeah, right. On half the catches, he had the same amount of yards.
The leading receiver of the Super Bowl was Mac Hollins. Let's just put it, call it like we see it.
Well, listen, the Seahawks may have scored 29 points, but it was not an offensive performance from that. It wasn't. Right. Sam Darnold completed 50% of his throws, 19 of 38 for 202 and a touchdown. Okay, like that's mediocre. Like it really is not. It's a pretty pedestrian performance, but Seattle's defense completely controlled that game from top to bottom, just in every way. That's the way that they did. So there is that. Here's the other thing too. This also brings up a conversation that I think is not getting talked about a lot. Do you think today that the Vikings are regretting not bringing Sam Darnold back? Now, here's the thing. There was a conversation, obviously, last offseason, whether or not the Vikings should have paid Sam Darnold to stay after the great season he had there, or were they going to further show their faith in J.J. McCarthy, who they spent a first-round pick on, and they decided to swing it with J.J. McCarthy. And at the time, I was thinking, you know what? I don't hate the decision. I never did. I still don't know that I hate the decision. But, Josh, do you think that the Vikings should feel a sense of regret for not bringing Sam Darnold back?
Let me answer that question by asking you a question.
Oh, yippee.
It's a fairly easy question. Didn't the Vikings just fire the general manager?
They did.
So wouldn't that answer the question?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that shows that they are absolutely regretting it because they just realized, oh, we could have got Sam Darnold on, in the grand scheme of things, is a great discounted contract for a quarterback, a good quarterback at that. And with that, your team is still trying to scramble. Your team has now gotten another year older. And now your absolute star player, Justin Jefferson, is probably one more mediocre year away from the man of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
So they absolutely regret this completely, because just imagine a change of the landscape. Sam Darnold stays in Minnesota. Now, obviously, who knows how good or bad Minnesota would have done with that division, with how good as the Bears did and the Packers and the Lions and all that.
The Lions came in last place this year.
Right. The Lions. Right. So all different things could have adjusted with that. But then you look at Seattle. So Seattle would have probably jumped right in to who was that rookie that they drafted that they ended up obviously didn't use this year, but they drafted a quarterback.
Oh my gosh.
Was it not Fillmore? What was the guy's name?
Oh my God. Why can't I remember now?
I got to try to look it up now.
I'm looking it up. Keep talking.
So he could have very well been their starting quarterback from week one. Jalen Milroe.
Yes.
Jalen Milroe. So that could have been their starter, or they could have tried to keep Geno Smith. We saw what happened with him in the Raiders this year.
Right.
So Seattle would have been a completely different team, and more than likely not anywhere near the Super Bowl, maybe not even in the playoffs, as good as their defense was this year, because you're still dealing with the Rams and the Niners in that division.
Mm-hmm.
So this trade impacted Minnesota. It impacted their division. It obviously impacted Seattle, which then impacted the NFC West. And now with Darnold locked in, and Seattle with the 5th most cap space going into this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle is primed to be a top threat in the NFC for the next several years. And Minnesota is in a make or break season based on this one decision.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there certainly is something to be said about that. I still think, and if I'm taking my own opinions into account about just like the pure outlook, I think, of these quarterbacks, I probably would have signed Sam Darnold. If I was in their front office, I probably would have done it. But that's also taking into account that I wouldn't have spent a first-round pick on J.J. McCarthy. I never thought at any point that J.J. McCarthy was a first-round pick quarterback. And there was obviously so much praise coming from guys like Jim Harbaugh, who coached him in college, about how his IQ is incredible. He's a mature quarterback. He's polished. He's somebody that knows the game so well. I just never saw it, right? Like, I felt similarly like to J.J. McCarthy the same way I did about Tyler Shuck when Tyler Shuck came out of college, okay? I just never looked at them as like premier NFL talents. Backup quarterbacks, potentially. Somebody you take a flyer on in the 3rd round, okay. But I never viewed J.J. McCarthy as a blue chip quarterback prospect. So in my eyes, as like an evaluator per se, I would have signed Sam Darnold. But I do understand why they decided to roll the dice with McCarthy. Because even the Vikings at that time had to think, okay, we like what Sam did here, but he has a 5-6 year track record of being less than mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wasted time with the Jets. Obviously didn't work in Carolina. Really didn't show much of anything in San Francisco. Like, what do we have to work on here? Like, what do we have to work with? Yeah, we took a chance and it worked, but are we really prepared to pay this guy $30+ million a year for the next 3-4 seasons? I mean, they have to think about that too. If they do that and Sam Darnold reverts back to the player that he used to be, that you want to talk about franchise crippling, that sets them back for years and years and years. So I don't know if I can even consider what the Vikings did the wrong decision, even with Sam Darnold winning the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna disagree on the last part of what you just said, because just about everything you said is spot on, because it is the risk reward. And yeah, if all of a sudden Minnesota signed him and he turned into Jets and Panthers Sam Darnold, oh, what are we going to do? Well, you know what? The Broncos coughed up more money with Russell Wilson, and they ended up finding their way out of this within a year or two. And part of that is because the Vikings decided to draft J.J. McCarthy instead of Bo Nix, who got drafted 2 picks later.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, you have even the Giants. Again, it's now I tend to be following a Russell Wilson train, apparently, because all right, they paid Russell Wilson. Obviously, not as much as what the Broncos did at this point. It was like, oh, what are we going to do? We got all this money going in, and they still were able to draft Jackson Dart. And obviously, Penn in the South, now they're starting to mold around that. You got the Raiders, who are still paying quarterbacks that they had on their roster 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, that's certainly taken some more time. But now, Penn in some bizarre type of trade, they think they got their guy Mendoza. So teams have made the adjustment. They weren't doomed forever. I get, yeah, it's certainly going to cripple it, especially if it got to a scenario of, oh, Sam Darnold's on our payroll. We got to pay J.J. McCarthy and we got to pay Justin Jefferson. Like something's got to give there. Kind of like what the Cowboys were in with Dak and CeeDee and Micah Parsons. Something had to give. That give was Micah. So I don't think it was as big of the gamble, being that in the grand scheme of things, it was still a favorable deal that Seattle signed Sam Darnold for.
Yeah.
But again, it's a matter of Minnesota chose to move up to draft J.J. McCarthy, where 2 picks later, Bo Nix was drafted. Instead of 3 picks later, Brock Bowers was drafted. So you could have even gotten, like a top tier tight end to play along with Justin Jefferson, which would have been disgusting.
Yeah.
So Minnesota made multiple moves to cause this to happen. And all of it can be fixed if J.J. McCarthy is healthy, because we saw a few glimpses of good games from him this past season.
Sure.
There was more bad than good, but if he can learn from that and next season be healthy, Minnesota is right back in the mix of everything. Yeah. If he doesn't, then they're truly in panic mode, and either Jefferson and or Jordan Addison is going to want out.
I think there's a lot of pressure for change there to like make it. And I don't want to say there's pressure for change right now, but let's just say another season goes by and it just simply isn't working with JJ McCarthy. Do the Vikings make the ill-advised decision of maybe moving on from Kevin O'Connell, right? Like, these are the kinds of things where, like, all right, after a couple of years, like consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance, that's when you start. Maybe you don't act on it yet, but those are when those conversations kind of start, right? Of just a change in direction.
Boy, if you thought we were going nuts about Kevin Stefanski getting the boots from the Browns,
yeah, there's no shot. Kevin O'Connell is O'Connell's one of the best football coaches in the league.
He's one of the 5 best coaches in the league.
And that's a real conversation to have.
Yeah,
right. Like, he's a very, very good football coach, a very, very good hire. But anyway, bringing this back to Seattle a little bit. I mean, I don't really see any possible sign of regression for Seattle either.
No.
Heading into next season. Now, again, they play in a bloodbath of a division. Okay, Arizona next year, I'm sure, is still going to suck. Because
come on, why? Yeah, they're going to be.
They just have so much crap going on, right?
Yeah,
figuring out quarterback. They have a brand new head coach now again. Like, they're still trying to figure it all out. But the Rams are still going to be good. The Rams are still going to be really good. Okay, excuse me. And the 49ers, like, the 49ers can handle their flaws fairly quickly, that given the track record that they have with John Lynch and his ability to put together a roster. That's going to still be a bloodbath of a division, but Seattle's going to be right there. Mike McDonald did an amazing job with them, right?
Yep.
And that defense is not going anywhere. It's just not going anywhere.
They're not. I mean, and again, like we said, the fifth most cap space. They have a few free agents that you just know Seattle is going to keep. Like Kenneth Walker's a free agent. He ain't going anywhere. They're going to pay him. Rashid Shaheed is a free agent.
He's going to get paid a good amount of money, and Kenneth Walker will probably get paid too much money, given that he just won Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
So they'll bring Kenneth Walker back, but it'll be on a contract that might bite him in the ass.
Well, I can see them, giving him like a 3-year deal, but it's going to be upwards of like over 25 million,
right?
Between 25 and 30 million over that 3 years.
All right. Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed's a free agent. With how he produced for them, I feel like they're going to bring him back too, unless someone just unloads a truck for him.
Right. They're going to try, and it's possible that a team like, I don't know, like the Titans or something, swoop in and give them 4 years for 75 million or something.
Right.
Like that.
Just some absurd amount of money.
Right.
I mean, aside from that, like you said, like their defense for the most part is locked in. Darnold locked in. JSN locked in. AJ Barner locked in. Cooper Kupp locked in. So this team is not going anywhere. And along with that, with this cap space, there could be a couple vets out there that are like, hey, I need to win a ring before I retire. I can go to Seattle for a discount and be on a favorite, Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah.
So Seattle is in a great position